LALATE. From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LALATE, live from Santa Monica, California, as the big update of your fourth stimulus check of 2021 today heats up as a $3.5 trillion recon passed. On Saturday, in the middle of the night, a House Budget Committee passed your $3.5 trillion recon. Package number one, cluster number one, $3.5 billion of checks pass. Cluster number two's checks pass, and cluster number three's checks pass. What are these checks? Checks for seniors, checks for workers, checks for independent contractors, checks for vehicles, checks for hazard pay, checks for individuals across the board, vehicles, cars, college students, home repairs, prescription medications, seniors, and more. All passed. Then, the exciting details is that everything being talked about among those House Democrats is future tense, that they will be adding a monthly stimulus check provision. House members and Senate members in the last few days saying they're still adding a monthly stimulus check, $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, to run for 6 months. Then in this recording, we go over all the incredible details about what's happening next, as the president has no less than a handful of meetings yesterday, more meetings today. We'll go over the voting process with a battle of three bills. We have your recon, we have the infrastructure, and we have the debt ceiling limit. I'll explain all the details in this recording. We'll go over what's happening with the meetings today, what's happening with the big vote tomorrow, and what could be happening by the end of the week. We'll be cutting to the big cash infusion of additional $13 billion lying in cities, counties, and states, and there's exciting details as the House members pass your $3.5 trillion recon on Saturday. So which vote is happening first, and will it pass? I'll have all those details and more as it's time to pass me the bacon, because the toast is toast and the butter is buttering and the coffee's brewing. This is Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day across the land. It's beautiful here in Santa Monica along the coast. The weather has cooled off. Hope the weather is good where you are. Jump in the live chat. Well, here we go. The $3.5 trillion recon passing in the House Budget Committee on a Saturday night. That means that cluster number one's checks got in there. Cluster number two's checks passed, and cluster number three's checks passed. Meantime, the incredible great news is that those Democratic House members and Senate members tell the viewers of this channel since and even Monday that they are inserting in there that monthly IRS stimulus check provision. We'll be going to the voting process this week because guess what? The news cycle is literally changing by the hour, by the minute. It changed dramatically yesterday, and the breaking details in this recording are totally new at Mornings LALATE, because there were more meetings held by the president overnight. Wow. I have all the incredible details and the voting process for Thursday and Friday. Here we go. Battle of the Bills, and this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel America, live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up next is noontime at 11 a.m. I want you to subscribe because listen here. On Saturday, the House Budget Committee passed your $3.5 trillion recon. I delivered the breaking news as soon as it happened and all the incredible details. No broadcast media covered the developments. No print media covered it. No YouTube channel other than this one covered it. Then, since Saturday, there have been no less than about 3 meetings per day with the major dramatic changes on the hour, by the hour, about what's going on for recon. No one's covering it. No one's covering the details except me and one print media outlet. I'll have all the incredible details throughout the day, so stay with me because the news cycle's changing. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Let's go right to the details, starting right now with what happened on Saturday night. In the middle of the night, a House Budget Committee subcommittee passed your $3.5 trillion recon. Cluster number one's cluster of checks in there passed. 2 passed and 3 passed. Meantime, right after the passage on that Saturday night, Nancy Pelosi and the President of the United States said this is not a complete bill. In fact, it's not a bill. It's a markup of what would be a bill, and that they're still adding things in there. That's great news for us. You know why? It's because going into the weekend, Nancy Pelosi's office told a dozen or so viewers of this channel that she's inserting a monthly stimulus check provision, IRS. Since Friday, House members, Senate members, Sanders, AOC, Jayalapal, and Omar have told these viewers of this channel that they are future tense, still inserting in that IRS monthly stimulus check. Over on the Senate, Ron Wyden's office yesterday, he's a Democrat, he's a senator, said he will be adding in, again, future tense, an extension of unemployment benefits. Oh, wow. Yes, it's getting very exciting. Let's cut to the first cluster checks passed that got in there. The first 645 pages of the full markup that was detailed over the last 2 weeks. It's important to remember that the recon is all checks for everyone, seniors, workers, individuals, and these are not pandemic related. What are these first 645 pages of checks? Hazard pay, checks to care for the elderly, checks for children, it's checks for MSC of $51,000, vehicles, bikes, cars, home repairs, and college students grants. Let's get to the details starting right now. Hazard pay got in there, lifetime. This is huge, as this channel was the biggest source of advocacy for hazard pay in 2021 and 2021. They got it lifetime in there, by modifying an old tax code called the Earned Income Tax Credit, broadening the eligibility so more essential workers qualify for it, and broadening and increasing the payment. Wow. Incredible achievement for the viewers of the channel who have advocated for hazard pay so much. Then, a big surprise, wonderful surprise, as up to $4,000 a year will be paid to you if you care for an elderly person. This is huge. Eligibility is still looming for this one, but this is big. This is the insertion from Representative Richard Neal. On the flip side, up to $4,000 to care for a young child. College students got money in there as well. That is huge. Grants for the college students directly to the university, and then the Pell Grant made tax-free. What about home repairs? They got that in there as well. If the home is in a low-income community, there will be direct free money to you to make that home repair. And then $51,000 of MSC monthly or multiple stimulus checks, however you phrase it. Wow, this is a huge one. They're taking the CTC, child tax credit, and modifying it. An 11th hour vote right before the thick of night on a Saturday night, they modified the CTC to make it lifetime and to make it now qualify for parents who are not biological. This is a huge one for foster parents and adoptive parents. Wow. How much does it pay? A lot, up to $51,000 per child. Let's say you gave birth to a new child in your low-income household. That's a qualification for eligibility. Up to $300 every month. Every year, up to 18 years, which is $51,000 a child. Then they got money in there for the bike, the car, the truck, all electric, and all U.S. auto manufacturer. Personal business use. First, a bike. You'll get up to 15% of the purchase price of a new electric vehicle, a new electric bicycle. Then vehicle. Yes, up to $7,500 of its personal use, then a little bit more of its business use, and then a little bit more if it's a truck. Wow. There you go. Cluster number one's checks passed in there. In a second, we're going to go to cluster number two's checks passed, and cluster number three's checks passed, and then we'll be going to the insertion of that monthly IRS stimulus check. It's deliciousness. But first, let's take a detour for just a second to third stimulus. Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary, very smart, very savvy, got a wonderful $13 billion out last week. Why do I say this is smart? Because the government may likely shut down on Friday, and she wanted that money to go out. This is third stimulus. This is money for rent, utilities, and mortgage. That's already law. Treasury sent it out last week in advance of any potential shutdown. Treasury is happy to provide state and local governments with the additional resources to support Americans in time of rental assistance. Now let's cut back to some more checks. I feel like I'm ready for checks. Are you? Let's go to cluster number two. Cluster number two's checks pass. These are huge, and it starts with paid family leave and paid medical leave. Paid family leave is if you have to stay home, your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay at home because your child broke his leg. How much does it pay? A lot. Under third stimulus, it was $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Let's split it in half. Let's say you make $35,000 a year. That's $800 a week. Split in half again, at $15,000 a year. That would be $400 a week. Wow. Deliciousness. They got other checks in there in the second cluster as well. Passed childcare programs, pass household tax credits like enhanced childcare credits. Then checks for seniors like dental, vision, and hearing checks and lowering medical eligibility age. I have more about that later in the third cluster. And then they got checks in there to weatherize the home. Definitely need it if the Purple Hawk's on the roof. Yeah, they definitely need that. And then they got 2 items of education. More checks in there as well. Pre-kindergarten, totally free. And tuition-free community college, really free across the country. Definitely need it because everyone's taking that very popular class called What the World is LATE Saying? I don't understand him, 101. It's for people who don't speak Los Angeles. It's a foreign dialect. It's a foreign language. Kale salad, kale salad. You can now speak fluent Los Angeles. So there you go. That is cluster number 2. I'm going to be cutting to cluster number 3's checks in just a second, and those monthly IRS checks in a second. But first, where's Congress? What's Congress doing? Well, they're having meetings every 3 hours on the hour. President meeting with certain people, Pelosi meeting with certain people, House Democrats meeting with other House Democrats, and the meetings are getting very, very fascinating. At issue, the battle of the bills. It sounds like a daytime soap opera, but it really is. Your recon, the infrastructure, aka roads and bridges, aka bipartisan, and then the debt ceiling limit. 3 different bills, 3 different timelines, 3 different battlegrounds. And guess what? Major developments on this overnight as the president met with the Democratic senator sides about the issue, and the progressives had comments about those meetings as well. More meetings are set for today. I'll explain what's happening, and I'll have my new impressions. You're hearing new ones. Again, a lot of major developing details that are brand new since last night. That's coming up in the final 15 minutes of this video. It's the voting process. Stay with me. We're cutting to that in just a second. But let's get to some more checks. Ready? Third cluster checks got in there as well. These are the president's checks, and these are wonderful because it includes checks for seniors, checks for free school meals for all, checks for cheaper prescription medication, checks for farmers, checks for clean energy, checks for workers like independent contractors, checks for seniors like lowering eligibility age, checks for dental, checks for vision, and checks for hearing care. $107 billion of checks will be going to you now pass in the third cluster, which I was able to identify. How was I able to identify it? 2 weeks ago, the Senate parliamentarian ruled one of the provisions in that third cluster, not for you, but for judiciary, can't be in there. Well, guess what? It's being reallocated to you. And how much is it? My old notes show it's $107 billion. Deliciousness. Then 2 of the checks in that third cluster are particularly liked by the president, and he thinks that's what's going to get the recon over the finish line. The first one is the cheaper prescription medication. The second one is free internet. Cheaper prescription medication, how does this work? Let's say you go to the pharmacy today. You take 2 $20 bills out to pay for a prescription. This becomes law, and then suddenly it slashes the prices for the prescriptions. Then when you go back next time to refill in a month, you may only have to take out one $20 bill, keeping a $20 bill in your wallet. Then we have free internet. How will this work? Cities and counties and states across the country will be given free internet from the federal government, fortunes of money, so that they can launch their own free internet companies to you. This is huge. All you have to say is, what's the Wi-Fi username and password? Username is Blaine66. And password is Scarf101. Later coming up in this video, we'll be going over the big exciting details of the vote, the battle of the 3 bills, what happened last night, what's happening today, my impressions of the situation, and is Thursday a critical day or is it not? That's coming up in just a second, and third stimulus and also fourth stimulus. But what about those IRS monthly stimulus checks? Well, the great news is that going into Friday, over 1,000 viewers of this channel had been told by over a dozen House Democrats and Senate Democrats that they will be adding in a provision of a monthly stimulus check, $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 for 6 months. Eligibility being the same as a third stimulus. Single individual, $75,000 or less. Married couple, $150,000 less, double it, and up to a family of 4. The great news is that by even last Friday, these members, AOC, Jayapal, Omar, and Pelosi, even by the end of last week, were all using future tense. future tense. Going to, will be, amending, going to amend, adding an amendment. By Monday this week, the continuation of the same verb tense continued, with Sanders' office joining the group, saying going to. Sanders' office telling viewers this channel as well that he's going to. This is huge. There's two ways to add it. First way is what Pelosi spoke about last Saturday, and what she spoke about yesterday, and what the president did yesterday, that the 3.5 trillion recon passed in the House on Saturday still can have things added in there. That's why it's not a bill. It's not a bill until it's introduced to the House floor, and it's not being added to the House floor until everyone's finished adding things in there. That is the first place it could be added in. AOC Jalapal Omar reportedly writing up an add-on to it. That's what their staffers tell viewers this channel. Second opportunity to add things in there is the Senate opportunity. Remember earlier in this video, I said to you, Ron Wyden wants to add something in there. Well, he's not going to add it on the House because he's a senator. He would add it during the two-day vote-a-rama at the very end. Those extension of unemployment benefits is what he wants to try to add in there. Well, Bernie Sanders' office confirming to viewers in the last 48 hours, he will be adding it in there as well. Again, he can add it in as a senator during the two-day vote-a-rama, or he can get the House members to add it in there for him as well. Those details are going to be explored more in the final 15 minutes of this video, so stay with me. We have a lot coming up, and we have all the dramatics that happen overnight with those meetings. Boy, I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now, live from Santa Monica, as Mornings LA continues with the exciting details of your $3.5 trillion recon passed on a House floor on a Saturday night. But guess what? We're far from over with those senators and those House members vowing to put the inclusion of an IRS MSC check in there as well. I'll have all the incredible details. I'll go over the president's meetings yesterday, late in the afternoon. He had several of them with Senate Democrats. We'll be going over what the House Democrats said. We'll be going over what Purple Hawks have been hearing from those Democrats as well. And then we'll be cutting to the exciting details of the voting process with a battle of 3 bills at the same time. You'll hear my impressions. These are all new breaking details because guess what? The news cycle is literally changing by the hour. We have another show coming up at 11 a.m. noontime. The news cycle will be totally different by then. Then we have Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock. Get ready for another news cycle. And then Evenings LA. That is going to be a big one because that will be the latest broadcast of the day that covers all the details. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you not to miss a single video across the board. The situation's changing by the hour. It's very, very fast-moving, developing details today. So don't miss a single video. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Let's take a second just to go over to third stimulus because this is very exciting. The president was smart to get the final $13 billion of rent and utilities out to cities and counties, states right now before the federal potential shutdown happens on Friday. This is huge, and I want you to get this big money. And guess what? How about a new refrigerator? Yeah. Lots of viewers are getting new refrigerators from the nonprofits. Get a pen and paper, cell phone ready, because I'm going to show you this big money you can get right now. When we talk about the money, the money has gone up astronomically. Rent has gone up 200%. Viewers have gotten a lot more. Viewers have gotten 300% more for utilities and 400% more for Snap in just the last 30 days. Let's look and see how much the monies have gone up on this channel. Well, here we go. It was numbers like this and numbers like this that we now see major growth from. We are $20,000 to $27,000 of rent just a month ago. Here you go, Purple Hawk, Purple Power. Guess what? They're now getting $40,000. Mark, remember $51,000 mark? Well, guess what? Viewers are now getting $15,000 for utilities, like Mark's brother-in-law. When we turn to money for Snap, the money for Snap has now grown to $21,000. So get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to show you how you get this big money right now. I'm going to show you 6 places you reach out to. You reach out to all 6. They have different pots of money. They have different eligibility. Number 2, listen to the keywords I say in this video. And number 3, I want you to be ready for the nonprofits. I'm going to show you those details as well. Here are the 6 places you reach out to. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. And your state hall and your state house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know. Here are those 6 places you reach out to again. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. All right, now let's turn over to the big money that it's important for you to focus on, which is that $13 billion. If you're a member of this channel, you get received daily every night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Monday through Friday, the LALATE newsletter. The newsletter for members has in there the Treasury announcement of the $13 billion. I want you to read that letter before you contact the local places for the money. Because when you call them up, I want you to know what it is. Ask them if they've gotten the money. If they say no, say if you can be on the waiting list. If they don't have a waiting list, say if you can call tomorrow and check every day. Because once that money comes, it will be everywhere. Red state, blue state, rich or poor, the money's not going to be there forever. Then the 5 nonprofit, then the utility companies. Yes, if you have 5 utility companies, reach out to all 5. Finally, the nonprofits. Wow. No less than 2 viewers have gotten refrigerators from the nonprofits in the last week. 1 viewer got the window fix and got a furnace as well. What are the nonprofits? Here are the 5 nonprofits also featured in the newsletter for members. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. 1 viewer reports that St. Vincent de Paul is getting the money for rent paid out within 24 hours of approval, and the same thing on United Way. Great success stories. What's important to understand is that the nonprofits pay for monies that the federal government doesn't pay on a third stimulus. For example, homeless people into shelters, clothing, sometimes small appliances. Also, they have different eligibility than the federal government. So if you're having issues with your city, county, and state, lean on the nonprofits. Here are the 5 of them again as well. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Finally, if you need holiday gifts, reach out to Salvation Army now. They do that in these months of September and October. All right, time for some unemployment benefits. Those are coming back from your state and also from the federal government. First, your state. For overpayment of unemployment benefits due to computer error, they're coming back. Average payment is about $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to your state for tracking. And then the repayment back from the federal government that you paid taxes on the unemployment benefits, that's coming back. $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Cog got it, Michael got it. If you got any sums of money, post it in the live chat. When you do, you inspire other people to get those sums of money. Finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? Members have that emoji next to their name, and they get received from me every night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, the LALATE newsletter. It's delivered from me to you via the YouTube alert system for members and the LALATE alert system. It comes out at 7 p.m. every night, and it features the big money available under first, second, and third stimulus. There's a lot of money in there. That's how Johnny got $80,000 from this channel. Lorraine, $100,000. Mark, at $51,000. His 2 friends, over $50,000. Johnny's 2 friends, $100,000. Jen, last week, $40,000. I want you to get these big sums of money, but I want you to promise me one thing. First, I want you to get the money as far into the future as possible. So if you can get rent utilities into 2022, do it. If you've gotten some money on this channel before, get more money. Number 2. I want you to lean on the nonprofits. The nonprofits are not particularly getting a lot of phone calls right now. It's late summer, early fall. They get the phone calls in December, November, when people need heating oil and they're cold and things like that. They're not being swamped right now. So get as much money as you can all the way into next year. And with that, we go into the final 15 minutes of this video, starting right now, with the exciting dramatics of the Battle of the Three Bills and the breaking details you're going to hear on this recording, starting right now. On a Saturday night, the $3.5 trillion recon passed the House subcommittee. But that passage in that subcommittee was not the finish line because they still have more things to add in there. And among the things they say they're adding in there, no less than 1,000 viewers have been told, is that IRS monthly stimulus check. Over the last 8 weeks, over 1,000 viewers of this channel have been told by nearly a dozen members of Congress, House and Senate, that they're adding it in there. And even in the last 48 hours and since Monday, they have been updating and still saying the same thing. Still the same message coming from Pelosi's office, Omar, Jalapal, and Bernie Sanders' office yesterday. It's going in there, meaning future tense. It started 8 weeks ago when I said pick up the phone and advocate, and WR picked up the phone and advocated to Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, advocating for the inclusion of that monthly stimulus check. And Coons' office said, yes, I'm putting a monthly stimulus check in there. Well, there you go. That was 8 weeks ago. But let's look and see what happened 3 weeks ago. Bernie Sanders' office, which confirmed yesterday still the inclusion of the monthly stimulus check, said to viewers of this channel, or said to Americans, I'd like to hear from you. What did he particularly say? What was going on? 3 weeks ago, I said a series of exclusives on this channel. Number one, that I believe that the House would write the legislation. They are. That the House would be calling the vote first. They are. And that the senators would have the last hack at it during a vote-a-rama. They are. Sanders at the time, I identified as critical to the equation because he got the $3.5 trillion price tag, and he's chairman of the House of the Senate Budget Committee. We have a Senate Budget Committee, and we have the House Budget Committee that actually wrote up these pages from last Saturday. Sanders said 3 weeks ago, unlike prior Senate budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when writing up a recon. That means he wants to hear from you. I said, advocate, pick up the phone and advocate. And Brother Joshua did. Longtime viewer to the community page, 2020 volunteer to the community page, and Purple Hawk, and also viewer picked up the phone and advocated. And Sanders' office said, yes, there would be a monthly stimulus check in there. What does advocacy look like when you're talking about picking up the phone and advocating? Well, we saw advocacy at another level, a very impressive level, late last week, when Margaret picked up the phone and said, honestly, the woman on the phone and I, when we explained everything I wrote, we started breaking down. Another viewer writes the following message. These are all screenshots of messages written by viewers on this channel or on social media and private message. I told her, how can I have 10 surgeries since my husband's passing? How am I supposed to raise 2 teenage daughters on the hardships I'm having SSI, DI? That's not enough. And she broke down as well. That's what Brother Joshua did 3 weeks ago. He picked up the phone and called Senator Bernie Sanders' office, advocated for himself, for his family, for his church, and for you. And Sanders' office said, yes, $1,000 to $1,400, 3 to 6 months, but needs to hear your support. And guess what? Yesterday, another viewer called in the support, and Sanders' office said, yes, it's going in there. That's in the last 24 hours. But boy, as soon as we heard that message 3 weeks ago, you stepped up. The Purple Power, the viewers of this channel picked up and started advocating one after another, office after office. Let's see what viewers of this channel wrote. This is what Donnie wrote on this channel. I called Bernie Sanders' office and his secretary said they are doing a fourth stimulus check, and that's why I said this is what I need. I need it to progress. I need it for my water. I need it for everything. I told her that, and she said, okay, they're doing a fourth stimulus check. Here is Hurricane Tina. This is what she wrote. I called Bernie Sanders' office. I got through, and they said they are putting in a fourth stimulus check. Here is what Carolyn Smith wrote. I called Bernie Sanders' office and I talked to the secretary, and I told her what we needed and help out here. And I was losing our homes and we're losing what we got. And she agrees, and Bernie is also putting in a stimmy check. This is what Yaya wrote. Spoke to another Ron Wyden staffer who said he wants the SS-200 in there as promised. Well, then we saw that the advocacy should go to another level. And that next level is calling multiple offices. And that's what Will did. He called 3 offices, and all 3 offices told him there's a monthly stimulus check in there. IRS, Bernie, Sanders, and Schumer. As to Elizabeth Warren's office, Elizabeth Warren asked me what kind of check. I think it would be sufficient. I explained that I want the American petition, and they said they're on board with that. American petition, of course, is $2,000 a month. And they said Senator Warren's proposing $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. Larica, who sent me a beautiful message overnight, said she's actually speaking to Bob Casey's office again today. But this was her message 2 weeks ago. She spoke to Bob Casey's office, and they said, yes, they're in negotiations right now for the monthly stimulus check provision. It was at that point that I said, listen, we have over nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel getting advocacy working and being told by Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, and Casey and Wyden's office that there is a monthly stimulus check provision in there. So pick up the phone and now try the House members, I said, AOC, Jalapal, Omar, and viewers did, and those confirmations continue to come on in. Here were the confirmations. Jalapal being called by Janice, and Janice saying, I called Jalapal, and they also said, yes, a forced stimulus check is going in there. Then we had Mark. You remember Mark from early in this video. He calling Nancy Pelosi's office a week ago yesterday. And Pelosi's office, this is what Mark wrote. I said I needed a forced stimulus check, and her staff told me, Nancy Pelosi's office told me that there would be a fourth in the amount of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and that they're almost done negotiating it. The messages continued thereafter. Paul writing much the same for AOC, and they said, I called Omar's office. She wants it to be $2,000, $1,000 thereafter. We have Ida writing, I just got the phone with Omar's office. They are putting in Omar's office $2,000 a month after the first month, $1,000. And there is Lynn Glenn. I called Jalapal's office, and she said, yes, she wants to give us monthly stimulus checks. So there you go. That is the face of advocacy. So what is the dramatics that's been heating up in the last few hours? Monday and Tuesday. Let's go over all the details starting right now. The dramatics overnight involved the following. This is new on Mornings LATE starting right now. The dramatics overnight involved the following. That moderate Democrats on both the House and Senate side have been asked by the President of the United States, what is your position on the recon? And their responses, their responses, he's like, well, speak up. Well, and he's not getting a response from the moderate Democrats. That he's not getting a no, he's not getting a yes, and he's not getting a very clear answer from the moderate Democrats. So the president has been leaning on these moderate Democrats to speak up and be heard. Now, what are the progressives doing on the other hand? The progressives, remember, are Jalapal, Omar, AOC, in some regards, Pelosi, also Liz Warren, Chuck Schumer, and Bernie Sanders. Those are progressives. What have progressives been doing? The progressives have literally been protecting your recon like Fort Knox. They have been really protecting it. By the end of yesterday, the progressives' wordings in interviews was going up like this. What do I mean by going up? It was becoming a lot more aggressive, saying, you know what? You moderates, you keep on keeping your mouth closed. I don't like people who keep their mouth closed, so we're really protecting our recon. So you know what we're going to do? If you want that bipartisan call for a vote on Thursday, we are going to, as progressives, vote it down. This is not a new developing detail, voting it down, because I've been covering this over the last 2 months on this channel. Jalapal over the summer said, if you try to do something with the recon, we're going to vote down the bipartisan. Well, she repolled the Democratic caucus in the House, which is where that vote would be on Thursday. And the Democratic caucus showed that 60 of them, 60 progressives, when it's only a question of 3 at issue, she has 60 when she only needs 3, will be voting down the bipartisan to protect the recon. This is huge. So why did the president have those meetings, and what's really going on in those meetings? The new details unsurfaced this morning is that the president's using a very, very clever tactic. First of all, progressives have been also meeting with the president as well. But the president's tactic is, listen, if you want me to be your president in 4 years from now, fellow Democrats, then you better start passing things. If you don't want me here, I'll leave in 4 years and you can have a Republican president, because otherwise you start passing my stuff. It's a very fascinating bargaining tool. And apparently it's working. The reports, these inside reports and from these chatters, these meetings that the president had, he had no less than 3 meetings yesterday with moderate Democrats to say, hey, it's fine that you want to keep your mouth shut, but if you want to keep your mouth shut, I won't be your president for years. You can have a Republican president if that's really what you want to do. And apparently that is working. All right, now what's going on with the battle of the 3 bills? Recon, infrastructure, and the debt ceiling limit. Currently, this is what's going on. In the month of July, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, had a meeting with the Goth gang. This is Representative Gothenheimer, if I'm pronouncing it right, from New Jersey, who is part of these moderate Democrats, and he was trying to get the bipartisan infrastructure call for a vote. The deal she made with him then, which she's upholding, which she's following through, is that she will be calling a vote on the roads and bridges on Thursday. Makes no difference for our recon, but guess what the progressives are doing? The progressives are doing the following to make sure that they are not being set up by the moderate Democrats. They have now indicated they're voting down the infrastructure on a Thursday vote. What is my impression of what I think is going to happen? Number 1, I think that the infrastructure will go for a vote on Thursday. Number 2, I think it will fail. Number 3, I believe that Nancy Pelosi knows it's going to fail and is totally happy with it failing. Nancy Pelosi is aligned with the progressives. She's not aligned with the moderates. She doesn't like the Goth gang. Let's make this very clear. She doesn't like the Goth gang. The Goth gang is very aggressive, and she had to make a concession to them. And this is a concession. I'll call for a vote. I didn't say I'm going to pass it. What is the progressives doing? The progressives are being inherently much more protective of the recon than even a week ago. Great news for you. Why do I go over this detail for you? To show you that people have your back. The same people who want to insert an IRS monthly stimulus check in there are the same people that are doing this protection of your recon. This is AOC, Omar, Jalapal, Ron Wyden, Bernie Sanders, who actually said overnight, vote down the infrastructure, vote it down, don't pass it on Thursday. These people are really protecting you because they know the dynamic a little bit more about what the moderate Democrats are doing, more than even I know or you know, because they're seeing it face to face. All right, now let's go over the debt ceiling limit. The debt ceiling limit, it's another item of legislation. And the debt ceiling limit, its deadline is Friday. Do I think they're going to miss the deadline? I think they will. Do I think it impacts you? It does not. Let's go over the debt ceiling limit. There's 3 elements that always come at issue with the debt ceiling limit. Number 1, in the year and a half that this channel has been around, the debt ceiling limit has been missed several times. So this is a very common occurrence, if you recall from past recordings on this channel. They commonly miss the debt ceiling limit by a few days, a few weeks. Your checks, Social Security, benefits checks, military armed services member or a federal employee, your checks will arrive on time if they miss the deadline Friday. If they miss the deadline for a few weeks, your checks are going to come on time. Number 2, the funding of the recon is not impacted by the debt ceiling limit. The debt ceiling limit this Friday is for funding of existing legislation. So it has nothing to do with the recon. Finally, number 3, does it impact the recon? It doesn't impact the work schedule of the recon because they're talking about 3 things at the same time. But it does help the passage of the recon. I'll explain to you why. The president and Pelosi have had these meetings. Pelosi had a meeting on Monday night, had a meeting on Tuesday, and the president had 4 meetings or 3 meetings on Tuesday as well. Those meetings always were about not 1 legislation, but 3 legislations. The battle of the bills, the debt ceiling limit, the recon, and the bipartisan. Here is what I think is going to happen. They're going to miss the deadline on Friday, and then the Democrats are going to have to make concessions, and then they're going to get it done in a few days. But here's what likely is going on in the president's meetings about the situation. That are you really going to go into the end of the week where we have 3 things to do and we got nothing done? We got 0 out of 3 things done. You're going to start by getting the debt ceiling limit done, and then you're going to start getting my recon done. I think the president is very big on message, as you've seen on this channel in the last year. He's very big on message. He likes to show that things are moving forward. And if you go into Friday and 0 out of 3 bills have passed, I think he's going to say, okay, what do you want? What do you want from me? You want me not here in 4 years? Because I won't be back in 4 years if you keep on not passing things. So you need to start passing things. And I think the fact that there would be 3 bodies of legislation potentially not done by Friday helps us. That it's not just roads and bridges versus recon. It's that, you're the party in control and you got 3 bodies of legislation, and the death ceiling limit is very basic. It's very easy. You should be getting these things together. All right, let's recap then where the issue stands then for this afternoon. This afternoon, the progressives have been set to have more meetings with the president and more meetings among themselves to ensure that, 1, the recon stays where it is. Number 2, that the recon is passed. Number 3, that the recon has the support of all the Democratic coalition. And number 4, that the recon gets added into. It's very important and very good for us that Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, Ron Wyden, and the president say, if you want stuff added to the recon, tell me now. Add the stuff you want to add to the recon. And that is why it helps us for the purpose of that IRS monthly stimulus check. People want to add things in there, add it in there, because it's not a bill. People always say, why not just call it for a vote? Because it's not right yet. It needs to have stuff added in there. And you don't want to put a bill on the floor until it actually is a bill and has everything in there. Now, on the other hand, it's time to speak up. And that's what Pelosi, the president, and Bernie Sanders have said as well, and the progressives. You want to add something in there? Time to speak up. And there we are. Just the start of where we are to go into the afternoon. What do I believe will happen? I believe what will happen is, this is Wednesday, we're going into Thursday, and then we have Friday. I think between today and Thursday, you are going to see dramatics go literally through the roof. However bad it was and strange yesterday with me describing the food fight of Monday afternoon with the progressive House members and the moderate Democrats battling over how and where things are voted on, I think those dramatics are going to heat up. This all works in your benefit. Again, your $3.5 trillion recon passed on a House floor budget committee on a Saturday night. Cluster number 1 checks got in there. Cluster number 2 checks got in there. Cluster number 3 checks. In the last 8 weeks, over 1,000 viewers have been told by nearly a dozen members of House and Senate that they're including in there a monthly IRS stimulus check. And those confirmation statements continue since even Friday, since even Monday, since even this week. AOC, Omar, Jalapal, and Sanders. You need to advocate to AOC and Jalapal and Omar. Those are the people who have your back. These are the people who want to hear from you because there's still a work in progress. I had a prop yesterday on set. Here was the prop. Bill, yeah, it's a draft of what could be a bill, and there's still room to put stuff in there. And as Ron Wyden says, I want to put stuff in there for unemployment benefits. I want to extend unemployment benefits in there. So it's still work in progress. They need to hear from you because as one member of Congress from Pelosi's office yesterday, when seeing the words from the progressive, said the following words. This is Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic caucus for the House. We're now figuring out the pathway to both the recon and the bipartisan because they're very important bills to get over the finish line. Yeah, that's his exact words. Maybe he's watching his channel. Well, I hope you are. I'll be back with you at noontime at 11 a.m. We'll have big developing details about what's unfolding. Because as I told you, the next 24 hours with the potential vote on the infrastructure on Thursday, likely to go down, likely not to pass, helping you, is all major dramatics, but it also is dramatics to help push the recon over the finish line. Voting down the bipartisan or voting up the bipartisan doesn't impact your recon directly. But if it does get voted down, the progressive have once again shown you don't mess with our recon. We're getting our recon over the finish line. And that's exactly what Hakeem Jeffrey said as well. And with that, I encourage you to subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Be part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. I'll see you next at 11 a.m. as noontime LA heats up with more developing details. And then we're back at 1 o'clock, afternoons LA, 3 o'clock, afternoons LA, a new show. And then the major update tonight at 5 o'clock with evenings LA. Don't miss a single video across the board because the toast is toasted, the butter is butter, and the coffee is brewing. I'm here, you're here, and this has been LA.